Welcome to The Explainer. Grab your notebooks because today we're setting the stage for the ultimate hero's journey. We're talking about that massive, totally exhilarating, and let's be honest, kind of terrifying leap from graduation into the real world. We're unpacking an absolute masterclass on failure, success, and completely outworking the competition. And we're not just dealing with theory here. This comes straight from Alibaba founder Jack Ma. Keep in mind, this is a guy who started out as an English teacher, got rejected from dozens of everyday jobs, including KFC, literally, and still built an unimaginable global empire. So if you're young or just young at heart and ready to build something incredible, consider this explainer your essential survival guide. Jack Ma once laid it out like this: "Today is tough, tomorrow is more tougher. The day of tomorrow is beautiful, but most people die tomorrow evening." Okay, just let that sink in for a second. This is definitely not your standard fluffy graduation speech telling you to just follow your passion and it'll all magically work out. Nope, Ma is immediately setting the stakes for the survival test that starts the exact second you leave the classroom. The path to your dreams? It's going to be incredibly difficult. It'll test your absolute limits. And the harsh reality is that most people just give up right before their big breakthrough. But not us.
So let's dive into Section 1, the real-life exam, where your diploma is basically just a receipt.
Think about your entire educational career up to this point, right? The late-night cram sessions, the stressful exams, those endless lectures. Well, Jack Ma delivers a pretty harsh but totally fair reality check here. Whether you just snagged a bachelor's degree or a full-blown PhD, that piece of paper isn't some golden ticket to a successful life. In his own words, it's really just a certificate proving your parents paid the tuition for 4 years. The classroom tests, where all the answers are neatly tucked at the back of a textbook, yeah, those are over. The second you leave college, the real exam actually starts.
But hey, here's the incredibly empowering flip side to that reality check. May points out that if a student can't survive the pressures of the real world, well, 99.9% of the people out there can't survive either. You've spent years training your mind. You know how to learn. You already have the rock-solid foundation you need to face whatever unpredictable challenges the future throws at you. You just need to recognize that the arena has completely changed. You're stepping into the greatest battle of your life, and you are totally equipped for it.
Which brings us to Section 2, the price of success. Getting 70 years of work done in just 18 years. Let's talk about the undeniable price of admission for hitting those massive dreams. If you compare a normal company's timeline to Alibaba's, the contrast is wild. Jack Ma insists that absolutely nothing in this world is free and nothing is easy. To reach the colossal industry-defining scale Alibaba hit in just 18 years, they didn't just stumble into some lucky break. They worked day and night. Ma literally says they never slept well and sound in the evening. In fact, over those 18 years, they essentially squeezed in the equivalent of a normal company's 70 years of work. That's an unbelievable compression of effort. To succeed like that, you have to actively choose to outwork everybody else, fully knowing the immense toll it's going to take. And if you want to quantify what that level of hustle actually looks like in the real world, just think about this staggering number, 867. That is the number of hours Jack Ma spent on an airplane in a single year. Seriously, that's over 36 entire days just sitting in the air, jumping from meeting to meeting, time zone to time zone, relentlessly pushing his vision forward. The physical and mental toll of that is massive, but that's the price tag if you want to change the world. Epic journeys demand epic sacrifices.
Okay, moving on to Section 3, embrace the tough questions and the real value of the rubbish bin.
So you know it's going to be unbelievably hard work, but how do you actually need to think to win? I want you to imagine you're sitting at your desk at a new job. Someone drops a proposal in front of you, and everyone around the table is nodding enthusiastically. They all agree it's a fantastic, universally loved idea that makes total sense. What's your very next move? Well, according to Jack Ma, you take that universally loved idea and you throw it straight into the rubbish bin. I know, that sounds completely crazy at first, but think about the logic here for a second. If everybody at the desk is already saying it's a great idea, that means everybody else out in the world is probably already thinking about it, or even worse, they're already doing it. To break through and actually succeed at the highest level, you've got to do things differently. You can't build an extraordinary life by just going along with the ordinary consensus. Instead of jumping on those easy, popular ideas, you need to actively hunt for the tough ones.
Think about it. How do you currently view roadblocks when everyone else looks at a problem and says, man, that is going to be really tough? Jack Ma says that is exactly where his interest peaks. You have to reframe difficulty entirely. Every tough day, every brutal situation you run into, that's not a roadblock trying to stop you. That is your own personal training. It's basically the gym where your future success is actively being built. And in that gym, you've got to be willing to drop the weights and make some mistakes. This is just the stark, kind of brutal reality of how history judges us. If you succeed, all your crazy mistakes and agonizing failures, they become these legendary stories told in boardrooms and best-selling books. But if you fail, those exact same mistakes are just viewed as garbage. The big takeaway here, stay foolish. You're young. You've got this boundless energy to fail and bounce right back. Chase your dream and fight so fiercely that one day your mistakes become legends. Let's look at Section 4, the decade-by-decade playbook, Jack Ma's life roadmap. It's so easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer scale of a lifelong career, right? So let's break it down into a highly practical master plan. This timeline is brilliant because it takes a massive, intimidating life and turns it into highly focused, actionable missions. Look at this. In your 20s, you aren't supposed to have it all figured out. Your only goal is to find a good boss to learn from. Then, armed with that knowledge, your 30s become the time to try something yourself, to take that entrepreneurial leap. Heading into your 40s, you stop experimenting wildly and focus purely on what you're already great at. Then, in your 50s, you pivot. You invest your time and capital into supporting young people because they are the solution for tomorrow. And finally, your 60s and beyond, you've earned the right to just relax and spend time with your grandchildren. I really want to drill down on that advice for your 20s because it's arguably the most vital step for young grads today. Ma insists that finding a good boss is actually way more important than finding a big, prestigious company. A massive corporation might give you a shiny logo for your resume, sure, but a truly great boss, they'll clean you up, discipline you, and actively teach you right from wrong. That direct mentorship early on is the absolute bedrock for your entire timeline. And this directly counters a really dangerous modern myth. So many people go to university wanting to immediately drop out and become the next tech billionaire, right? We romanticize these visionary mavericks who left Harvard early to change the world. But the reality check here is that there's only one Bill Gates. There's only one Mark Zuckerberg. For the rest of us, that early discipline, the relentless grind, and actively learning from a capable boss is a mandatory prerequisite for success. You simply can't skip the foundational steps just because they aren't glamorous. All right, our final stop is Section 5, Never Give Up, the ultimate opportunity. We've covered the reality check, the crazy hard work, the contrarian mindset, and the roadmap. Now let's look at the ultimate separator. This beautifully illustrates the exact moment where the paths of failure and success permanently split. Notice how both the average person and the successful person make mistakes. That part is guaranteed, no matter how smart you are. But the difference? It's all in the reaction. The average person makes a mistake, complains bitterly about it, and gives up. The successful person makes a mistake, uses it to find a hidden opportunity, and absolutely never gives up. The issue isn't making errors, it's surrendering when they happen. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Whenever you hear people whining, whenever the world is totally frustrated and complaining about some seemingly impossible problem, that is precisely where your greatest opportunity is hiding, just waiting to be uncovered. As you step out into the real world, ask yourself, where is everybody complaining today? Find that complaint. Treat it as your own personal training. Outwork absolutely everyone to solve it and turn your mistakes into legends. Thanks for joining this explainer.